Hi everyone, this is Donald from urbansketchy.com. If you don't know me, I am a sketch artist, or an urban sketcher as some call it, and in this video I want to give you a simple little sketching challenge with a difference. I really believe that everyone can sketch. It's not about talent or money or going to art school, and if we take time out of our manic lives to just stop, set aside an hour to ourselves and draw a picture like we are kids again, with the phone off and absolutely no distractions, it can have the most amazing benefits for our mental health. Recently I've been listening to an amazing audiobook about mindfulness, and I realised how that also can be brought into the act of sketching, and I'll talk more about that as we go on. So my challenge is this: watch me sketching this simple yellow door in ink and watercolour, then download the photo, have a go at the sketch following my suggestions for the mindfulness side of things, without any concern for the end result, then let me know how you found the experience. Imagine you're a kid again. You're sat on the floor of your bedroom drawing a picture of Mummy being eaten by a dinosaur. That's the way I want you to approach this sketch. If you're taking part in this, I want you to turn off your phone, get rid of all distractions, and find yourself a quiet place where you won't get disturbed. This is a time for you to switch off and just sketch for the sake of sketching. And I want you to simply sketch the picture without worrying about mistakes or concerning yourself with the end result. Draw whatever your brain and your hand want you to draw. And if you make a mistake, it doesn't matter at all, because you are the only one who is going to see it. Before I start the pen drawing, I'm using a pencil to roughly mark where the door and doorstep will go, but you don't even need to do the pencil sketch if you don't want to. It won't matter if you make a mistake with the pen, because we're not bothered about that. This sketch is just for us. We're kids again, remember? I'm using a Unipen waterproof fine liner pen, and all I'm doing is looking at the picture and copying what I see. That's it. No fancy terminology here. You can draw this even if you've never drawn a picture in your entire adult life, which is exactly where I was until I discovered sketching. If I can do this, you can do this. If you make a mistake, force yourself to ignore it and just keep going. All the sketching gear I'm using will pop up on the screen as we go along, but you don't need to use these items. You can just use whatever you have access to. A pencil, a sketchbook, or a sheet of paper and a cheap biro will be grand. But if you want to do the watercolour stage, you will need a waterproof ink pen and obviously some watercolour paint. I want you to really study the doorway. Look at all the markings on the door, the lines on the wood, the shapes of the cobbles. That is the basis of mindfulness. To quote Wikipedia, mindfulness is the practice of purposely bringing one's attention to the present moment without evaluation. In other words, absorbing your entire focus on the place that you are in or the activity that you are doing, being completely aware that you are here and doing only this thing without any thought given to how well that moment is going. In this case, you are sketching this yellow door, and your entire attention is on sketching that picture, being completely aware of every mark that you make on the page, fully absorbing every detail that you see in front of you, as if in that moment each mark you make is the one and only thing going on in the entire world. It sounds a bit bonkers, but it does work. If you give it your total focus and have no distractions, when the sketch is finished, you should find that during the time you spent sketching, you thought about nothing but sketching. Your mind was clear. All the stresses, worries, distractions of modern life disappeared for a while, and that time you spent with your sketch was just for you, and you felt so much better for it. The sketch you produce at the end is irrelevant. It's what you did with your mind that counts. The audiobook I've been listening to about this is called The Miracle of Mindfulness. I'll put a link in the description to the audiobook in case you'd like to have a listen. I think it is more effective as an audiobook than in paperback. It's quite meditative to listen to. You should be able to get it for free as well if you're new to Audible, so that's a bonus. In the book, he gives the example of washing the dishes and being completely absorbed in the act of washing the dishes, totally aware of every plate you're washing, all the while actually telling yourself that you are washing the dishes. Yes, it's mad, but I tried it and suddenly I found myself enjoying washing the dishes rather than it being a chore. And while I was doing it, I wasn't thinking about anything other than what was in the sink. You can do the same thing with sketching. If you're cynical, you'll probably say this is nonsense and have moved on to the next video, but try it. Try applying mindfulness to this sketch and see what happens. And if you have tried it, how did you get on? Did it work for you? Would you do it again? Once the ink drawing stage is done, you could call the sketch finished, but today we're being kids, so I'm going to do a bit of colouring in with watercolour paint and then a few final touches with colouring pens. I'm using Van Gogh watercolours, but use whatever you have. Steal your kids' cheapy paint set if you have to. This isn't fine art, and we're not submitting it to a gallery for snobby types to ponder the deeper meaning of a yellow door. I'm putting the paint down very loosely, leaving white patches on the brickwork to mimic the effect of what I'm seeing. You could try this with colouring pencils, crayons or felt tip pens, but for subjects like this I like the wateriness of watercolour. It also helps that this is a lot like how we would have painted pictures in our early years, sloshing the paint on, not in the least bit bothered about colour accuracy or going over the lines, and not even waiting for the paint to dry before the next colour goes on. When a young child's painting a picture, are they formulating their opinions on the latest big scandal to hit the news, or fuming that some random stranger hasn't accepted their Facebook request? No, they are not. Their only thoughts are, will I put more purple in this rainbow, and what colour is my unicorn going to be? Once you've finished with the painting, you can call it done, but if you have time and your loved ones aren't yet battering down the door, you can apply a few final touches of shading using brush pens. I often do sketches without watercolour, and it's these pens I use instead for colouring in. The good thing is that they are filled with permanent India ink, so you can use them over the top of watercolour, and they're a good way to add a few final touches of shading and contrast. Because we're being highly observant, we've noticed all the black markings on the door, and if I tried to paint those with watercolour, it'd be tricky because they're so small, and it'd be difficult to make them stand out, so I'm using a pure black brush pen for those. Even at this stage, I hope you're managing to keep your focus on the sketch. This part is like one of those adult colouring books that were all the rage for a while, only you've created the entire picture. Your sketch might look nothing like mine, it'll probably look better to be honest, but this is not a competition. I've seen a lot of comments online about sketchers getting frustrated with the results and suffering from comparison envy whenever they look at what other sketchers are producing, even wanting to give up completely. Wouldn't it be great if you tried this mindfulness method and it actually changed the way you think about sketching? If you do try it, whether it works or not, let me know how you get on. Would you try this again? Is mindfulness just mumbo jumbo, or does it actually work in the context of sketching? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this video of value, please do check out the other videos on my channel for more sketching inspiration, and you can visit my website urbansketchy.com for more sketchy goodness.